Thank you for joining me for another spiritual discussion. This discussion will be about Christianity and reincarnation. According to Christian doctrine, reincarnation is false and contradicts the Bible. Yes, there are those who claim to be a Christian and believe in reincarnation, but a lot of people disagree that this can be the case. My question to you is, can a person be both? Can it be a Christian and believe in reincarnation? So the question that needs to be answered is, why would a Christian believe in reincarnation? And would this not make them a Christian? First, let's look at the definition of reincarnation. The word reincarnation comes from the Latin re, which means again, and incarnare, which comes from two other Latin words, in and caro, and flesh. Thus, it literally means to come again in the flesh. There's a term called transmigration, and that is the reincarnation of many different types of life forms, such as coming back as mineral, vegetable, and animal, as well as humans. I don't see any examples in life of transmigration. But however, I do see examples in life of reincarnation, and I'd like to share some of that with you. One term that really goes together with reincarnation is karma. Karma is the law of cause and effect that says for every action, there is a reaction, or whatever we sow, we will also reap. So, one purpose for those who believe in reincarnation is, if reincarnation was true, what would be the purpose for it? Many assume that the only reason for reincarnation is to repay for the wrongs done in a prior life. Another reason for reincarnation is to experience new growth for the soul. Is what I would see as a main reason for the concept of reincarnation being a reality, to give experience for new growth for our soul. So, is it impossible for God to send a soul back again? Whether God does or not is what has to be proven. Some people say, well, show me reincarnation in the Bible. Because reincarnation is not expressly taught in the Bible, does that prove that it does not exist? Things have been added and taken away from the Bible. We'll talk more about that when I talk about the Bible itself. But neither is the doctrine of the Trinity, but it is believed. You would not see the word Trinity in the Bible. Yet many Christians believe in the Trinity. Well, just because you don't see the word reincarnation in the Bible does not mean that it does not exist. So, does the Bible speak or teach against reincarnation? There's a scripture that is used against reincarnation. And I personally use this scripture that I'm going to go over now to try to prove that reincarnation does not exist and that the Bible speaks against it. They use Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27. That's Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this, the judgment. This is referring to the fact that our mortal bodies die only once. The human body is a one-time shot. That is true. Our mortal bodies dies only once. And after that comes judgment. That can refer to life reviews such as those reported in near-death experiences. A post-life judgment does not preclude the possibility of the soul returning to earth in another mortal body. And notice, the passage does not say it is appointed unto man once to live. Think about that. But in Revelation chapter 3, verse 12, Revelation chapter 3, verse 12, it says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. He shall go no more out. Could this mean that a person would no longer enter into earthly bodies? Take a look at Matthew chapter 16, verse 13 through 14. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Now, this scripture really would point to the belief in reincarnation, because each person that is mentioned here, who they thought Jesus was, each person had died. So if Jesus was to be one of these individuals, that would be pointing to the concept of reincarnation. But then take a look at John chapter 9, verses 1, 2, and 3. Now, as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. That's verse 1. The key thing to remember here that it says that they saw a man who was blind from birth. He was not born and became blind. He was blind from birth. Verse 2. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? If you really look at that question, it should seem strange to many people who do not believe in reincarnation. First, to understand what this question is implying, the Jews had a belief that if a child was born deformed, crippled in some way, that this was a punishment against the parents for the sins in their lives. And that sin is being passed down, or judgment of that sin, rather, is being passed down to the child. So a child could be born as punishment for the parent's sin and a condition such as being blind or crippled or any deformity of the body. But look at the answer that Jesus gave. Jesus answered, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. Let's look again at this question that they asked Jesus. The disciples asked Jesus, did this man or his parents sin that he was born blind? We already established the fact that the man was born blind. And we already established the fact why they would think the parents may have sinned. But the question I put to you is, how could the man himself have sinned and cause himself to be born blind? Think about that question. How could the man himself have sinned and cause himself to be born blind? And Jesus gave the answer that neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him, meaning there was a purpose, a divine purpose for this man being born in this condition, and it was not a punishment. Now, I put this question to you. How can a person cause themselves to be born in a certain way? How could they have sinned and be born as punishment? There is only one answer or one way I can see how this is possible, and that is through reincarnation. I don't know how many of you ever heard of Edgar Cayce, but Edgar Cayce was a Sunday school teacher who, while in a trance, would give readings on theology and philosophy. These readings included affirmations of the doctrine of reincarnation. He taught, like the ancients of the East, that the sole purpose of reincarnation of the individual soul is to destroy the accumulated karma. If you ever read the autobiography of Edgar Cayce, you see that he even stated that he did not believe in reincarnation prior to him going into a trance and receiving messages indicating reincarnation. So reincarnation would be like returning to resit or retake, I should say, an examination in which we have not done well enough to proceed to another level of our education. It's like not being able to skip a grade if you do not pass the requirements in the prior grade. If you fail that grade, you have to repeat that grade before you can move on to a higher grade. If you ever studied church history, there's an early church father named Origen, Origen. Origen sowed the seed of the Christian debate over reincarnation that lasted for 3 centuries. You may not realize it, but when you study church history, you will find that the doctrine of reincarnation was once a doctrine of the Christian church. But it was replaced by the doctrine of the fallen man being born with a sinful nature and therefore needed to be judged by God. But first, there was the doctrine of reincarnation before the doctrine of being born in a sinful nature. Many people find out the reality of reincarnation through hypnosis. I have experienced this myself with placing people under hypnosis and regress them back, dealing with issues in their lives. And they will go back into a prior life, a prior existence, where they existed as another person. And under hypnosis, they would talk about that existence. Now, what would really shock many people who do not believe in reincarnation is how many times they have come back. How many times have they been here as a human being, died, and come back again? I remember At one time, I saw a cartoon. It was a cartoon of an old man and a little boy sitting on the sofa. And the old man was saying, I do not believe in reincarnation. And the little boy says, when I was your age, I didn't believe in reincarnation either. To me, there's a lot of truth behind that. Because if you listen to our children, especially before they become at the age of 7, around 5, 6, and 7, many of them would talk about at one time when they were big, what they used to do and what they had. And all you have to do is listen to them and what they're saying. So a lot of times a child would talk about reincarnation. So the greatest benefit of reincarnation is that it gives us the chance of becoming more like the Creator. And believe me, that would take more than one lifetime. So if you disagree with any of the information presented here, or if you have any questions about it, I would like to hear from you. Really, we need to be able to come together and talk about things like this. So in closing, and ending this video, please feel free to share it with others. And if you would like to see more of this type of content, please click the subscribe button below on this channel. I would also love for you to post your comments and questions below. Just be respectful to one another. Until the next video, thank you for listening.